Good day, my young believers, kingdom citizens, or anyone listening to the sound of my voice. Today, I just want to bring across to you, young believers, that when you listen or read the teaching of God, He spoke in parable. And a parable basically is a short comment or phrase that's packed with many revelation, many interpretations. So when you read in His word and He taught in parable, because there are so much things He wanted to say to us that He couldn't put it out in word. I do not know what type of environment you grew up in, but I could tell you, growing up as a young man in the Caribbean, my grandparents and people in the village and around would use parable all the time. And it seems like even in the Africans do it too, because I had the experience of working with an African, and for everything he had a parable. He had some kind of saying. And he would have me thinking, but even so, my grandmother would always be, especially when there is a situation taking place and they don't have all the words to tell you, they would tell you something that would make you be like, what you mean? What does this mean? But you know, the fact that they repeat it to you so many times, when you start to live your life and you start to use it yourself and you find yourself using it in situations where they would have said it to you, you realize, oh, this is what they meant. This is what they meant. And so without many words, that was a lesson to help you in your life without you even knowing it. And some of us are still alive today because of the parable that was spoken to us, because of the parable that was mentioned to us constantly. And we ourselves find ourselves using it. And I see with a lot of our younger generation, they don't even speak in those terms. They don't use parable because they themselves still learning life, still understanding life. And many a time when you get around them and you see they having children, or in this term what we call children having children, you find that there is an element, there is a taste, there is a value, there is something in life that because you have not experienced or probably been around an environment enough to teach you well, you now teach what you know to your children. And so by that, they grow up with a lesser understanding towards life than what you would have been able to give had you had certain upbringing, you know. And I'm not saying that it can't be found, it can't be around people, but sometimes ignorance set in and you raise your child in ignorance, you know, because you yourself have not learned enough about life to know, you know what, that's not the way to go. You know, some people will allow their children to do whatever they want out of their ignorance and thinking that they're teaching their children how to survive and how to stand on their own 2 feet. Needless to say, parable has helped a lot. I'm reminded of this 2 teachings where Jesus was with a multitude, and it came at a point of the day where the disciples were like, it's getting late and we need to have them to go so they could go and buy food to feed themselves. And Jesus asks, look around and see what they have. In the first parable, or the first situation, was that there was 5 loaves, 2 fish, right? He fed the multitude. And in the second situation, there was 7 loaves and some fishes, and he fed the multitude. And they was baffled by that, and he's saying, basically in the story, he come down to where he asks them, haven't you learned as yet? Meaning, Christ is the bread of life. Anybody who are around Him will eat. Once you taste of Christ, is once you receive His word, once you accept His word, once you feed that spiritual man, you're feeding him with the life or the bread of life, which is Christ, right? And so this is, I believe, what He was trying to get the disciples to see, that if He is there, just know that you are being fed. Because sometimes you could have been taking you through a time of fasting, so He feed your spiritual man. You ever been in a situation where you're reading the word of God or in His presence and you just don't feel hungry? You just don't feel like trying to put any food in your body because you're just so occupied, you're so full of Him, full of His presence, full of His glory, full of the joy. Those things could take away the hunger or the urge for food or pleasure of this world. when you're in his presence or around him, it could take away those things, because what is being satisfied is a spiritual man, and you feel it in your belly, you feel so full. But he was saying, you're around me, you can't go hungry. That is to say, when you have Christ in you, you're always full. Right? You're always full. I know the activity of the way we live is to strengthen the spiritual man daily, but Christ brings a fullness to us. He is the complete deal. So when you have him, you're having completeness. All right? It's just us as humans that have to now train or teach ourselves, or not basically teach ourselves, but basically learn how to live like him, how to walk like him, how to talk like him, so that in our physical aspect of life, we're able to practice those things so much that it becomes second nature to us, to just want to do good, to just want to do the will of God in our life. By so doing, we would have maintained his presence, maintain, the embodiment of Christ in us through spirit, and be able to just go forth and watch signs and miracles and wonders and all those good things happen. So today I just saying, learn the parables. It's packed with a lot of information, packed with nutrients, packed with healthy, how should I say it? It just pack. So yes, eat from the bread of life, take from the bread of life, and sometime when you're in the presence of God, don't be concerned with the material things of this world, the pleasures of this world, because Christ is enough. All right? Peace out. Be blessed. Have a blessed day.